Hunstead. I am a pediatric nurse, mum of two, author of A Life, a Finger, a Pee Up a Nose, and I'm also founder of CPR Kids. And today I am going to be busting some myths about winter illness in children. And just as certainly where I'm living, it is cold now, so this is something that is really relevant. And thank you to all of you who have sent in your myths that you want busted. It's really interesting that we did a quick poll as well, and it's amazing that these myths get passed down and down and down through generations. It's what our grandmothers, it's what our mums, it's what our dads and our grandfathers told us, and it kind of just stands true because when you're told when you're a little, it kind of sticks in your head. So let's actually unpackage some of these myths and see what is true and what isn't. And if you've got some myths that I am, or some statements perhaps, you might not know that it's a myth, that you want busted or ticked that it's a fact, type them in the comments below. I might not be able to answer it, but hopefully I will be able to find the answer for you. And what I would love you to do before we go any further, if you could just give me a thumbs up or a wave, just to make sure that you can hear and see me well, that would be fantastic. And remember, this will be posted both to the CPR Kids and also the Baby to Toddler Show pages afterwards. So you will have plenty of time to watch it. And please tag any friends in the comments below who you think would benefit from this information. Okay, you might want to tag your mum or your grandma in it too. Ugh, that could be stirring a bit of a pot of trouble though, couldn't it? So let's start. First one: will my toddler catch a cold, or will I even catch a cold, if I go outside in winter with wet hair? Okay, no, it's a myth. Going outside with wet hair will not make you catch a cold. Okay, it might make you feel a bit chillier because of the wind going through the wetness, but you are not actually going to catch a cold or the flu or an illness from going outside with wet hair. I think this also translates to toddlers without pants. Now, I'm going to tell you a little story for a sec. I'll digress a little bit, but you'll understand. We took our two kids to the snow a few years ago. It's been our only snow adventure with them, much to my husband's disappointment because he's a bit of a snow bunny. Not sure if that's the right term I should have used, but anyway, we'll stick with it. And my 4-year-old at the time decided that she would not wear pants in the snow, to the point where I thought, you know what, I give up on this. You cannot wear pants. So she had her snow parka on, she put her beanie on, she had her boots on, but no pants. And because she was stubborn, she wasn't 4 actually, she was 3, because she was so stubborn, she went outside and actually was shivering, was almost turning blue, but no mummy, no pants. She sat in the snow, all the rest of it, she didn't catch anything, she was fine, she was okay. So toddlers without pants and going outside with wet hair will not make you catch a cold. Why? Because it's not the temperature that makes you catch a cold. It's a virus, so it is contact with a virus, and we are certainly a lot more schooled in viruses in the general public at the moment with coronavirus and everything. We know about touching surfaces and touching our face. Same with the common cold. Common cold can live on surfaces for quite a long time. That's how we get a cold, by introducing the virus into our body, not from having wet hair or going outside inadequately clothed. There is a little bit of evidence to say that your immune system may not work as well if you are exposed to extreme cold. We're not talking about wet hair or just going outside with no pants on. Okay, so that is much more of an extreme thing. All right, next one. Okay, does just going out in the cold make you catch a cold? No. Okay, so I think we kind of covered that with the toddler with no pants, that it's not about going out into the cold. It is good for us to get outside, get fresh air. What can happen in winter is that we shut up our houses and we're in air conditioned, with the heat environment, which does other things, which I'll go into in a minute. But we need to open up those windows. We need to get outside. Fresh air is good for us. Okay, so that's another one. Now, this is a really popular one. You see, I've just got my list here of the questions that you've asked. So, green snot. Okay, I hope you're not having your breakfast. Green snot. Does that mean that my child is infectious and needs antibiotics? Okay. Does green snot mean that my child is infectious and needs antibiotics? No. Okay. No, it doesn't. And this is a massive, massive, massive myth that is out there. Okay, what is the green snot? Number one, it doesn't matter what color the snot is. You can't tell from the color whether your child is infectious or not. They could have a clear runny nose and be really infectious. They could have no runny nose and be infectious. They could have green snot coming out because they're at the end of their illness and they're pretty much done with their illness. So the color of the snot does not indicate whether your child is infectious or whether or not your child needs antibiotics. So why? Because what is that coloring? That coloring is actually munched up virus or bacterial bodies. So let me explain that a little bit better. So what happens is our immune system has got cells that come along and basically munch up and clean up all the dead virus and bacterial bodies, and these can come out in our snot, in our sputum. So basically that's just our body getting rid of waste products. And so that's why it's not about the color of the snot. It's just an indication or a sign or a symptom. It's about looking at your child as a whole, and trust your gut. If they are unwell, go and see your doctor. That's really important, but it does not mean that they particularly need antibiotics. Your doctor will examine your child and ascertain whether they think it's a viral infection, which is no antibiotics, or a bacterial infection, which means they probably would need antibiotics. Okay, so that is one of the myths busted. Okay, so what's next? All right, let me look at my list. All right, this was a good one. Chicken soup helps a cold. Now, there can be some foundation in this. Why? Well, for one, it depends on the chicken soup. We're talking basically nutrition here. Good nutrition helps your immune system to do its job. So that's why good nutritious foods like a homemade chicken soup with loads of veg in it is probably going to do your body some good to help your immune system to help fight off viruses and bacteria. So there is some fact in that one. Okay, so there we go. All right, next, other question we got. The flu shot gives you the flu. No, it doesn't. So the viruses that are the flu shot doesn't contain a live virus. It's dead. Okay, there's no live stuff in the flu shot. All right, there isn't. But what the flu shot can do is what it does do, what we hope it does do, that's the whole point of it, is that you have an immune response. And so part of that immune response can mean that you start to feel, a little bit off, a little bit unwell, okay? And remembering that even though you've had the flu shot, sometimes you can still get the flu if it hasn't given you the immunity that you need. Not all of us do that, but we like to get the flu shot because of the herd immunity. It's about protecting those who can't be immunized or the immunization doesn't work for. That's the idea of that, about protecting. So the more of us who get it, the better it is. And so the other thing is too, is, what happens, you've been to the doctors, it's a little bit different now in COVID. A lot of them are doing drive through flu shots, which is a fantastic thing. But it might be that you've come into contact with a common cold and you end up with a cold. Those of you who have had influenza, you will be nodding right now going, yeah, flu is not like the cold. Flu is bad. Flu is bad. You feel so sick. you cannot get out of bed. It is very, very different to the common cold. So, busting that myth, the flu shot can't give you the flu. All right, next. Another one that I remember my grandmother used to talk about, and this is, what was it? Feed a fever and starve a cold. Or maybe it was the other way around, starve a cold and feed a fever. I'm not sure. I can't remember. We had a few people say that and it was turned around a little bit. I think the fact that we've all got it on a different page actually says that that is a myth to be busted as well. It's not good for you to starve your child or yourself when you're sick. Your metabolism is running. You need good nutritious food for your immune system to fight this off and do what it's doing. So don't try and starve anything. On the same token as well, you might feel like crap and your toddler might feel terrible, your baby might feel terrible, a bit off their food when you feel sick. Absolutely don't force feed them. Just please make sure they're having lots and lots of fluids. Fluids are really, really important. And then when you can get food into them, some good nutritious food is really important, okay, to help us with our immune system. It's a good thing. All right, what else have we got? You can treat a cold with antibiotics. I think we busted that myth before already, I think. So busting that myth, you can't treat a common cold with antibiotics. It's a virus. Doesn't do anything. So I remember my mum used to say that if you treated a cold, it would only last for 7 days. But if you didn't treat it, it'd probably last about a week. She was probably right with that one. And last but not least, of the questions that we've been asked, the myths to be busted, staying indoors prevents you from catching a cold. No, it doesn't. It actually doesn't, because remember, it's coming into contact with people or surfaces after people who have got a common cold have touched and just shared their germs around. So the common cold can last on surfaces for a while. It's droplet, so people sneeze, the droplets go on there you go. Staying indoors isn't going to stop you from doing that. It's important to get outside, get into the fresh air. It's important to do all of that. It's good for our brains and it's good for our bodies. So staying indoors, if we're indoors all the time, often what we do, we've got the heater on, we might have the ducted heating on as well, the air conditioning that do that. What that does, it can dry out our mucous membrane, so it dries out the inside of our nose, can dry out our mouth and so on, and that can actually leave us more susceptible to actually having the cold virus being able to get inside us as well. So all of that, that dryness that you get. And so that's why it's important, don't have the heater on all the time. Throw open those windows, put an extra jumper on, you'll be right. So will your kids. And you know what? At the end of the day, if you've got a toddler who's going nuts inside, who just needs to get outside, they've got a bit of wet hair, they don't want to put their pants on, they're going to be okay. The worst thing that can happen, you know what? They'll get a bit chilly. That's about it. And hopefully next time they will put some pants on. You never know. So just while we're on here at the moment, does anybody have any questions for me? If you do, please just type them in now. Are there any myths that you have been told growing up? Certainly, what do you think? Is there anything that you would like me to chat about now? I'm not guaranteed that I will actually be able to answer that, but we will see if I can. No worries if you don't. Hopefully we have covered the main ones just now. So, and what I would love you to do is also put in the comments below, what would you like us to speak to you about next week on our live or in coming weeks? One request that we have had is, what is croup and what should we do about it? So why don't we do that next Thursday at 10:30 on the Baby to Toddler Show page and the CPR Kids page. We will bring you what to do, what is croup, and what do you need to do if you suspect that your child has croup. So let's go into that, because we've had a few questions about that one. But in the meantime, okay, so Abby has actually asked a question. Okay, Abby, when do you anticipate being able to run in-person classes again? Oh, we can't wait, Abby. We can't wait. We are actually starting our classes in Queensland in not this coming weekend, but the weekend after, which is really, really exciting. And we are anticipating, hopefully, that within the next 4 weeks that we will be able to open up again. We have some classes scheduled towards the end of June that we are hoping that we, provided, when we are able to actually, the government says, go ahead and go for it in venues, then that's fantastic. The Australian Resuscitation Council has given us guidelines that we can certainly be delivering classes again. So why don't you give our office a call? Just jump on the CPR Kids website and we can start doing our face-to-face classes. And for those who are not able to get to a face-to-face class, please jump on the Baby to Toddler Show page. When I say that, I mean their website, and jump on the link to the CPR Kids online learning. It's everything that we teach in our face-to-face classes, but in an online format. So we've got that until you can get to a face-to-face class again, for those who are in different areas. And Abby has also said, thank you for the wealth of information. You're welcome, Abby. It's our pleasure to be able to do this. One request I get a lot of questions about is high-tech monitors. Okay, that's really interesting. By high-tech monitors, Abby, do you mean monitors that monitor oxygen saturations and heart rate on sleeping babies at home? Is that what you mean? If you can just type me a little message there if you are still on, so that I can do that. This could well be a whole Facebook Live in itself, couldn't it? So I will answer that from a nursing perspective. Owlet, okay, all right. So we won't mention any brands or anything like that. I have no affinity to any brands, nothing like that. This is purely my experience as a nurse. Just make it really, really clear. I'm not recommending a brand or a type of monitor or anything like that. So you need to do your research about what is suitable for your family and then make a decision from there. Okay, that's really, really important. But what I want to talk to you about now is what, as a clinician, is my opinion on when you should be using this. Okay, so number one, if your child, for example, is going home from an intensive care unit, something like that, they have a condition that your pediatrician has diagnosed and your pediatrician is recommending at-home monitoring, then yes, absolutely you need a high-tech monitor, and that is something that you need to discuss with your pediatrician. Okay, that's really, really important. There are kids who need this for medical reasons. Okay, so that's an important thing. Now, otherwise, does your child need a high-tech monitor? I guess the question is that if you choose to get a high-tech monitor, there are a couple of things you need to do. Number one, if it goes off, if something goes wrong, do you know what to do? Are you just relying on the monitor? And then would you be able to resuscitate your baby if that's what you needed? Have you done the first aid course that allows you to understand what to do? Because that's one thing that's really important, okay? The other question is why are you actually using it? And are we relying on this device, the phone or the monitor, that's telling us and we're not looking at our baby? That's a really important thing. The most important thing that you can do is following the Safe Sleep Guidelines, in which by Red Nose, and one of them certainly states that your baby should be in your room with you, if possible, and also that we are visualizing our baby. That's when we're looking at our baby. So that's an important thing. My worry as a clinician is that we might become focused on the technology and not on our baby. And that's an important thing. But, you know, I've certainly worked with parents who perhaps it's their rainbow baby. You know, they've lost a child, which is the most devastating thing. And the only way that they're going to sleep at night is having this extra layer to help them with their fear. And I completely get that. I completely understand that. And so, you know, that's why I think that it's not a yes or a no. It's what is your individual situation. Certainly did, talking from my own personal, I had 2 healthy babies. I didn't have a high-tech monitor. I didn't feel that I needed it, but I had a monitor in the room. So when I was going out and doing stuff, it was, you know, just the sound one, because I'm old and my kids are now old. Okay, so that's why it was sound. It wasn't even video when I had my kids. Okay, so but I guess what I'm trying to get at here is that it is really important that if your pediatrician tells you you need this, you follow their instruction, and they will help you to understand what you need. If you are doing it because of your family circumstance, then yes, please, if that's what helps you to sleep at night, go for it. But if your baby is healthy, if you are doing this, please, the 2 things that I want you to think about: would you know what to do if it went off? And also, is it a false sense of security? Are you relying on the technology and not looking at your baby? Okay, that's the 2 important things. Are just questions that I want you to ask yourself about that. Okay, so I hope that's been helpful. Just looking what Abby. Okay, good. You've been in contact with Red Nose. Fantastic. Okay, good. That's excellent. And that's the important things. Different things for different families. There's so many circumstances. That's why I wish everything was black and white, but it's not. But, you know, I may be a little bit biased, but one thing that is black and white to me is that every parent and family needs to know the life-saving skills of baby and child first aid. That one is a no-brainer. Oh, Elise has just asked a question. Let's have a look. Okay. Elise, any advice on a baby that gets very excited bath time or will not close their mouth, always splashing water into their mouth? Okay, some splashes like that, you know, in a normal healthy bub who's excited about bath, for one, that's awesome that they like the bath. That is just a big tick. That's a battle that you don't, you know, because, like, believe it or not, there are some kids who hate the bath. Not many, most like it, but, you know, that's a great thing. Splashing around, all the rest of it. A healthy bub, their airway is protected by all their reflexes, all that kind of stuff. That's why we cough. So naturally, you know, they're splashing around, won't close their mouth. They're going to get water in their mouth. It's fine, okay? They might poo in the bath one day and splash and it gets in there, gross, but you know what? They'll be all right, okay? It's okay. They have all of these protective mechanisms, which is fantastic. When we worry, when there's a drowning risk, of course, we never ever would leave bub alone in the bath, which I'm sure certain you wouldn't do, but we're never doing that. The splashes, that's going to be absolutely fine, okay? Not a problem. When we worry, of course, is when there's submersion, so they're submerged and they're unable to get themselves out, and that's, you know, obviously when drowning occurs. So I hope that's a bit helpful to answer your question, Elise. And remember, guys, type in what you want us to talk about. We'll talk about croup next week, and just generally about breathing problems in kids, but we've had a lot of questions just asking what croup is. So absolutely, we will talk about that. And have a fantastic day, everyone, okay? I will see you soon. Enjoy your day.